Hello, good morning to you all, and welcome to our series of classes on English grammar, on the basics of English grammar. So the lectures will go on in English only. If you have any questions, you can write them in chat. You can obviously ask, with your voice. But I would prefer you to use English rather than Russian. Although if you want to ask in Russian, I can just, translate your question into English and answer that anyway. So today we are covering quite a simple topic, as it may seem, because this is something that anyone who has ever studied English knows. But the problem is that we never get the real deep knowledge on the topic. Excuse me. So we are going to talk about the present tenses in English, specifically about present simple and present continuous. I'm pretty sure if I asked any of you what is the difference between them, everyone would just tell me that obviously we use present simple to talk about our habits and repetitive actions. For example, I travel to work by a bicycle, or I read a lot, or I always prepare breakfast for my family, and this kind of regular events. And present continuous, on the other hand, is used while we are talking about something that is happening at the precise moment of time, so right now. Which is true, I'm not saying it's not, but there are a lot of, those small points and deeper kind of questions that we could ask about that. So the first question that I would like to ask here is, okay, we say that present continuous is used when we talk about something that is happening right now. And what is right now? Because, I could say that right now I'm having a class, we are having a class. But then, we started 5 minutes ago. So the beginning of the class is already in the past. So can we still say that this is happening really right now? Not really, theoretically. So theoretically, if we really think in a philosophical way, we would say that right now is like precisely this like millisecond that, is just happening. But then, this is not the context that we use in everyday life. So we are not really talking about just events that take a second. And so, yes, I can say I'm having a class right now, extending a little bit this now to whatever happened from, 6 minutes ago until right now and until it's actually finished. In the same way, if I, for example, change my job and I start working for a big company, for example, I could say that I am working for a big company right now, and that would change the emphasis on the fact that this is not regular to me. So regular for me was working from home, for example, for my own company, and now I am working for a big company, for a big corporation, for example. So this now can be as you see, extended. And like the first thing that I want to say, and I will be repeating that I don't know how many times throughout our lessons, is that if we compare English to specifically Slavic languages and actually any other languages which basically have only three tenses, the present, the past, and the future, when we say, for example, in Russian or in Polish, we say, ja wczoraj robiłam obiad, ja dzisiaj robię obiad. In Russian, that would be я вчера делала обед, я сегодня делаю обед. Obviously, because we only have three tenses in Slavic languages, the biggest shift would be in time. So I would be just emphasizing that I was doing that yesterday or I'm doing that today. And the biggest point would be about when is it happening? Was it yesterday or is it today? Now in English, because we have more options to talk about the present. As you know, we have present simple, we have present continuous, we have present perfect, which we are going to cover in our next class, and we have present perfect continuous. So these are practically 4 tenses for the present. So why do we need them so many? Because the shift would be very often in emotions. So let me open my whiteboard. So for the record, in present simple, we have only one form of a verb, and we say, for example, we all work from home, right? This is present simple. So we have only one verb, one form of it, and if I say that we all work from home, I'm saying that this is normal for everyone and this is how things go. But if we remember how it happened, how it was happening actually a couple of years ago, specifically 2 years ago, definitely maybe even a year ago, some people would still say, we are all working from home. And this is present continuous, obviously. Now, the shift here is the situation was exactly the same. And that was a very interesting point at time, actually, when by the difference how people would say this, this information, we would see their attitude to life and to general situation. Because when in 2020 in autumn, for example, so it was pretty much now we could say the beginning of pandemic, although then we thought that we were actually, going somewhere with that. But here we are still working from home. But anyway, in 2020, some people would already say we all work from home because they had already accepted that this is normal. This is our normal state right now. We work from home. As much as they would say we don't go to work, they would say we stay at home. We do everyday tasks in a normal way. Whereas people who would still think that this is not normal and we will come back to the offices very soon, they would still say we are all working from home. And this meant that they look at it as, quite a short period of time, which is still not normal. And this is happening only now. And very soon in the future, it will either change or maybe then it will become normal, but it's still not normal right now. Okay? So that was how we could see what approach people actually have to this whole crisis and situation, if they already think that this is normal, or if they still actually think that, okay, this will change very soon. We all know that it didn't. So that's one thing about present continuous, which we have to remember, that this right now can be quite changeable and discussable what it really is. Then a very important point about present continuous when we also have to use it is when we describe pictures. This is a very interesting linguistic point when you think about Harry Potter, which I think everyone at least heard of. Probably many of you have read it. Probably some of you have watched the movies as well, or maybe even more people have watched movies than read it. That's not the point. But the thing is that in Harry Potter, if you remember, when they would look at the pictures, what was happening in the pictures? People were literally moving. So those pictures were not static. They were really like a piece of a movie. So if there was a family picture, for example, of Harry's parents, they would be waving at him. So this is actually something that I'm pretty sure, I'm not really sure if Rowling came up with this idea or she copied it from somewhere. I don't know, but whoever came with this idea first, they definitely got this idea from English grammar, in my understanding at least, because in English we would also say in this picture, I don't know, my friends and I are having lunch, for example. So it literally sounds as if we are having this lunch right now, because when we look at the picture, you know, we see it kind of happening here in front of our eyes. So, you know, the shift from saying that as if this is happening right now into the fact of actually imagining that, you know, those people could move in the picture and it can look as a movie, I'm pretty sure it could have come from British grammar. So whenever you describe anything in any picture, be it, I mean, a photo picture or a picture in a gallery, a piece of art, we always have to use present continuous there, and we have to say what is happening there. So these people are having fun, these people are working, this man is painting, this man is talking on the phone, whatever is happening in present continuous. So that's the second point. And then obviously, I hope it's obvious for you, in many situations, we would say, we would use present continuous about the future. So I could say, for example, I'm going to London next week, which would mean that this is really fixed, some arrangements are made, and like there is, it's kind of very, very official, if I could say, meaning that it's done. There is nothing to change about it. We are going to talk about the future tenses in our next classes. So I'm just, signaling you here that when, when we were told at school that present continuous is used only for what is happening right now, it was right. But what was very confusing was that, sometime later they would kind of throw this little bit of information that, yeah, it can be also used for the future. Although, frankly speaking, a lot of my students tell me that they have never heard that at school even. I don't know why, but the future tenses are being taught very, very badly in our countries, at least. So what I want to do here, again, is to, get this all information together so that you really know pretty much everything that you have to about those two tenses and the shift and the difference between them. So that's the general thing about present simple and present continuous. Now we are going to dig a little deeper and talk about some more specific things. So we have something which is called state verbs. State verbs, they are also sometimes called stative verbs. These are the verbs which exactly, they describe our state. So in most of the cases, I'm looking here at my notes because I have really a lot of things to tell you and I don't want to miss anything. So in many, many cases, state verbs would mean mainly something that is unchangeable. So before I give you some, examples, before I write them, again, if we think about the difference when someone is telling you, for example, that I work at school or I'm working right now, the difference is that when I say I work at school, we can't really say that there is a clear kind of picture that comes to your mind, because this is about a repetitive action all the time. Obviously you can think of a school building or something and kind of connect my work to working there, but when I say that I am working right now, you clearly have this image of me, sitting in class, explaining something, writing, something on the whiteboard and things like that. If I tell you, for example, that I read a lot, okay, like I read a lot, we still don't know if I read in the mornings or in the evenings or in buses. Where is it happening? How often is it happening? But when I tell you I'm reading right now, you clearly see me, in your mind, you can, create this image of me sitting here with this book and actually reading. If I tell you, for example, that I drink a lot of coffee, again, this is just some information about my routine. But if I tell you that I'm drinking coffee, here is the image, okay? I'm literally sitting and, like sipping coffee from my cup, from my mug. So in present continuous, we usually can really create this very, very specific picture. And another thing about verbs in present continuous is that we can literally turn this action on and off many, many times. So if we come back to this reading thing, I can say, I'm reading right now. And now I'm not reading, I'm looking at my screen, I'm talking to you. And I'm reading again, and I'm talking to you again, okay? With talking, again, I'm talking to you right now. Not talking. And I'm talking again, okay? So with present continuous, this is how it works. So we can create this image. Now, why can't we use state verbs in present continuous in most of the cases? Because if we describe a state and I say, for example, I like, what do I like? I like this book, for example. This is something that is pretty much unchangeable, right? Like, I like this book all the time. I like it when I read it. I like it when it's on a shelf. I like, rereading it again. I just like it. And, what does it mean? I'm liking it. Does that mean that I am liking it right now and then I'm not liking it because I think it's stupid and then I'm liking it again? And, let's take hate, for example. If I say I hate my neighbor, if I hate this guy because he keeps doing renovation all the time, then I hate him all the time. I can't say that, yes, I hate him right now and then I love him, but no, I hate him again, then I love him again. And if anyone of you wants to tell me that, well, this can happen a lot, and especially my female students tell me that very often, that yeah, this is how it works with our husbands. We can love them and then hate them and then love them and then hate them again. Within almost, like 1 minute on and off. But remember that language always shows you mentality of the people who have created this language. And we are not talking about, Italian character and Italian way of, display of affection and emotions. We are talking about the British people who have created this language and who are much calmer. And if they really like or love or hate something, it's not changeable, okay? So this is mainly, we are talking here about emotions, about states like, for example, I have, I have a husband, like I have him all the time. And I can't say that I have him now, then I don't have him, then I have him again. It's not going on and off. Yes, obviously, every marriage can be ended this or other way. But then again, this will be like for a long time, right? This is not a situation going on and off. If I have a computer, again, I have it as long as it doesn't break down, okay? And it's not, happening on and off. This is mine. Oh no, this is not mine. Oh, okay, this is mine again, right? Then we are talking about abstract verbs, like that something costs, for example. If something costs £2 in a shop, it's flat. It costs that much today and tomorrow until the price is raised, obviously, or there is a sale. But again, this will be for a longer time. This is not happening like, on and off every 5 minutes. This is not normal, okay? Verbs like contain, for example. If something contains let's say a lot of water, it contains a lot of water all the time. We can't turn it on and off again. Emotion verbs, we talked about that. Modal verbs, of course, if I say that I can swim, this is my general ability. It's like we can't imagine a situation where, you know, I can swim, then I can't, then I can swim again, then I'm like, you know what I mean? This is not real, and this is not normal. Like modal verbs usually exist only in present simple because they are constant. Okay, so this is like this habit. This is repetitive action, in fact. Now, an interesting example is this slogan of McDonald's, which I think everyone knows. I'm loving it. And I have just told you that emotions don't usually go with present continuous. So why does McDonald's do that? An interesting case, you know, I'm not sure if we will ever really learn and, you know, like dig deeper into why they even said it. I'm not saying that they made it as a mistake. I don't know, maybe, but, you know, it exists in life. We cannot deny that. And, you know, we can say that it makes emphasis on, you know, like that I'm loving it here and now. And this calls you more to your sense of taste and, you know, this indulgence that we all have about food that, you know, I don't care what will happen later. I don't care if I will still be hungry. I don't care how fat I can become or whatever, but I just want to eat it now and I'm loving it here and now. So it could be this kind of emphasis, although it's not really happening in other situations. So, you know, just don't take lead from that, let's say like this. So if you say I'm loving it, you're clearly playing with the McDonald's slogan, but I wouldn't really, you know, use that in everyday life about saying, I don't know, I'm loving my husband, I'm loving my children. That would be really weird to say. Now, staying in the topic of state verbs, there is still one more very important thing that I want to show you. So, okay, first of all, most of them don't have this continuous form because they are like general and they happen all the time. But some of them can be used in present continuous if they change the meaning. This is a very important point to understand that, for example, like the first thing that comes to mind is if I say, I have a car versus I'm having lunch. So if I say I have a car, I'm talking about the fact that I own it, that it's mine, and this is something that is permanent and unchangeable. That's exactly what we were talking about. I can't, you know, be switching on and off this fact, like this is mine, oh, this is not mine, oh, this is mine again, oh, I don't want it. So I just have it all the time until, I don't know, until I sell it, until something happens to this car, whatever. But when I say I am having lunch, in this situation, the word have means to take an action as much as I would say I'm having coffee, I'm having a class right now, I'm having fun. This is about like my, how to say that, my experience. I'm experiencing something. I'm experiencing this class. I'm experiencing fun, for example. So in this regard, this is a shift of a verb. I hope you see that and you understand that it's not the same meaning as in the sentence I have a car. Okay. Now the second nice example and a very interesting one is when I say I hear some voices versus I'm hearing some voices. The first situation is very simple and like everyday I hear some voices because someone is talking somewhere. I hear some voices, but maybe I don't know who this is. For some reason, I'm saying this fact that I hear it. Versus I'm hearing some voices, which is actually a very scary thing to say because it means that you are imagining things that are not happening. So if you are hearing some voices, you clearly have to go to a therapist because it's probably, you know, a mental disease because no one is talking. You are in complete silence and yet you are still hearing some voices. And this is a completely, again, different meaning of the verb, right? Like when we say I hear, it's a normal physiological fact of my ear working and giving me this information. Whereas I'm hearing means I went crazy, okay? Something is wrong. I'm hearing something that is not happening. This is not my ear. This is actually my imagination. This is my mind, okay? The other one, which I really adore, is I think, for example, I think this is a bad idea. And I'm thinking. I'm thinking about that, let's say, about that. So here when I say I think, it means this is my opinion. Opinion. So I think this is a bad idea. It means in my opinion, in my view, this is a bad idea. Let's better not do that. When I say I'm thinking, I'm really talking about the process of analyzing. And this is where, again, you can see a clear image when, you know, like I'm sitting and you can almost, you know, like hear my thoughts and you see that I'm deeply, deeply there in my mind. I'm like, I'm thinking, oh, please don't disturb me. I'm thinking right now. So this is a completely different, different way of, you know, phrasing things. Because, you know, it's not like when I say I'm thinking, I'm talking about something totally different because we are still talking about the process in my mind. But again, the shift is different. I think this is a bad idea, is my general opinion. And it actually might not have any, you know, important emotional context. Whereas I'm thinking would mean that, you know, that this is an important process. Oh, please don't disturb me. Please don't talk to me right now. I'm thinking. Okay. So I will put a file with a list of those verbs in the description box of the video. And you will see more of them. It's really interesting to, you know, look at how they work in different contexts and actually realize that yeah, they might mean different things, and that's why they can be used in present continuous, because that meaning can be happening right now in the moment. Okay. So that's that about state verbs. Now, another important thing that you probably have heard at school, if you have ever learned English, is what we call signal words for a tense. So signal words for present simple are, as we are always taught at schools, and we see that in many course books and grammar books, these are words like usually, often, seldom, never, always, from time to time. You know, those words which really mean repetitiveness or the constant process, right? Like I always take my coffee black. So like I never have milk with it. I always take it black. Versus present continuous, which has signal words, sorry, like now, right now, at the moment, these days. It's pretty much everything. So something that emphasizes the process right now, right? So even if we say these days, that would again mean that we extend now a little bit, but we see it as a smaller process in comparison to the whole life situation when I am never busy, but I'm working a lot these days, for example, we could say that. And what we would usually hear at school is that you can't use always with present continuous, because when I say I always read in the evening, it's my repetitive action. So is it true that we can't use always with present continuous? No, it's not. And this is something that for some reason I have never met a student who would actually tell me that yes, I heard that at school, I know it. If you are one of those lucky people who have heard about it, then congrats. But here it comes. Again, as I said, the biggest shift between present simple and present continuous, and in general between many tenses in English, would be very often in emotions. So I can give you a couple of different sentences. For example, I can say in present simple, he always forgets his keys at home. Do we have any emotions here? Not really. We are just talking about a permanent fact. That's him. That's this guy. He always forgets his keys at home. The context would tell us why we even get this information. Maybe because his wife is telling us, oh, he will come back because he probably forgot them again, because this is what he always does. He always forgets his keys at home. There is nothing unusual about it. This is how, how life goes for him. It is what it is. But imagine that someone tells you he is always forgetting his keys at home. What is happening here? Oh, we have a lot of emotions here. So I can't really imagine, or I can hardly imagine a situation when someone tells you just, he's always forgetting his keys at home. What you would most probably hear is like, he's always forgetting his keys at home, which drives me nuts because I keep telling him that he has to be more concentrated, more focused, or whatever. Or we have a lot of problems because of that, but oh my God, he's always forgetting that. So you see the emotions that are happening here, right? Like, this really annoys me. I hate that. There is probably a big background about it, about our discussions, maybe I don't know, like scandals and shouting and explaining, asking and everything. And he's still always forgetting his keys at home. Does that mean that always with present continuous must have a negative meaning? No, it can have an extremely positive meaning. Imagine a woman who tells you, my husband is always bringing me flowers. And again, we have a lot of emotions here, but they are extremely positive. Oh, how sweet. See, he's always bringing me flowers. I love it. Or maybe, I don't know, I'm telling you that he's always bringing me flowers because I want to make you jealous. Whatever is happening here, in my opinion, this fact that he's always bringing me flowers is super positive, super cute, super sweet, super kind. I love it. And it's like every time it's it's like a small miracle to me. So it's not just a random fact, like, yeah, he always brings me flowers. That would actually sound even slightly weird if someone tells me my husband always brings me flowers. We believe that this is a nice gesture. So to say about it as if it was just routine sounds a little bit weird, at least to me, but maybe someone really means that. So remember that, at the beginning, when you start analyzing all this information, you might get a little bit confused at times don't overthink that. Try rather to see the context in real life, in movies that you watch, in news that you read, in your dialogues with your friends or colleagues at work, for example, and see if you really hear this, you know, this shift, if you really hear and feel how people are saying that something is always happening, for example. And then, you know, so for the beginning, before you really start using it fluently and naturally, you have to feel that, how those natives really do that, okay? And it might happen that for some reason people just change the tense because they, I don't know, they started sentence in one emotion and then they decided to add some emotions. I don't know. You can always ask if someone tells you, for example, my husband always brings me those flowers, and they say it in a like neutral, present simple way. You can ask, so is it not extraordinary for you? You know, like, so is it usual? And then remember that there will be always the most important thing in languages, which is context. So you know, like, people don't just randomly say like that, my husband always brings me flowers, goodbye. You know, they will always give you context, why we are even discussing that, why we are talking about it. Okay. And one more shift, a very interesting shift that I want to share with you, is about the verb to speak. So I was really struck when Queen Elizabeth died, and I watched the first speech that King Charles, as we know him now, gave to the nation. He addressed the nation, if I remember correctly, on the exact same day when the Queen died, or the next day, I don't remember. But anyway, he started his speech. I'm coming back to my whiteboard now. So he started his speech with, I speak to you today. I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow, or something like that. And it might actually seem very, very weird. Why did he say, I speak to you today, if this is clearly happening right now? There is something wrong about it, isn't there? Apparently not. But before I give you the whole context, I'll tell you that I actually started searching through old addresses to the nation made by the late Queen. And what I realized is that they somehow randomly use, like, okay, she randomly used what could seem random. She would sometimes say, I am speaking to you today, and sometimes she would say, I speak to you today. So what's the secret behind that? And I will put a cut of those speeches right here in the video when I will be uploading that on YouTube.
I speak to you today at the same hour as my father did exactly 75 years ago.
So what I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart.
I'm speaking to you at what I know is an increasingly challenging time.
This year, I'm speaking to you not from Buckingham Palace, but from Sandringham, where my family gathers every year for Christmas.
I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow.
So what is happening here? Why sometimes it's I speak, sometimes it's I'm speaking to you today? Because I speak to you today is much more formal. And I'm speaking to you today is more emotional. And it also can mean, you know, like those positive emotions of being relaxed. But again, I speak to you today is, well, because it's kind of permanent. It's this, you know, like something that is happening all the time in our understanding. You know, this is like, I'm not giving any emotions here. This is just what I do. I speak to you because this is my duty. Whereas I'm speaking would mean that, oh, here is my heart. I'm with you. I'm really glad to be talking to you. Okay, so here we are. If we look at those speeches again, that's why the King Charles said, "I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow," because this was a very formal, a very sad situation. The whole nation was mourning, literally. So, saying "I'm speaking to you today" would be really weird to say, "Oh, I'm relaxed. Oh, finally I became the king. So, I'm speaking to you today. It's nice. Hi, guys." That would be really wrong and weird. If we look at the Queen's speeches, when you saw the Queen dressed in black when she was in mourning, addressing the death of Princess Diana, she said, "So what I say to you now, I say as a mother and a grandfather and a grandmother. Sorry, if I remember correctly." So again, she chose the word "I say." She didn't say "I am speaking to you today," because again, that was no relaxed context. That was very, very serious. She was sad that the nation actually expected her to be in mourning. Those of you who know the story lying behind the death of Princess Diana, that was a very, very struggling moment for the monarchy. So, saying "I'm speaking to you today" and looking, relaxed and like emotional in a positive way would really go down very, very wrong with the public. Then on the Victory in Europe Day, when we see the portrait of King George the Eighth, I believe, I never remember, frankly speaking, the numbers of those kings, but Queen Elizabeth's father, and then she says, "I speak to you today on exact the same hour as my father spoke to you exactly 100 years ago." Again, this is, like a formal, very, say, official occasion. We are talking about victory, about the end of the war. It was a serious moment, right? So again, saying that I'm relaxed, talking about the war, that would be weird. So she says, "I speak to you today on the exact same hour." And then when you see the Queen dressed in green, when she was addressing COVID crisis, when she says, "I'm speaking to you at a time which I understand to be an extreme challenge," or something like that. You'll hear those words exactly in the recordings. Why does she say there, "I'm speaking to you today"? Because that. She's not really relaxed there, but she is showing that this is really coming from her heart. It's not just a formal situation. Okay, they asked me to say it, so I'm saying it. But she relates to the nation. She's showing that, I'm with you in that, and I'm trying to give you comfort. So I'm speaking to you today. And the same situation you see in that very poor quality video, because that's recording from 1992 and it was uploaded to YouTube probably from some video cassettes. So that's really not like HD quality at all. But she says, "I am speaking to you today from Sandringham, which is my family home." So again, she's really relaxed. She's in the place that she loves. She's in a very, very comfortable situation. That's why she can say, "I am speaking to you today." And again, she's sharing this relaxed and joyous feeling of her own with us. So that's that about, those shifts about present simple and present continuous. And yeah, that's it about them. So, first thing that I always tell to my students, like, don't panic. Don't think that if you don't understand, you have never heard that, you are not sure if you understand that correctly, like the world will not crash, okay? So feel free to ask natives. Actually, this is a very interesting thing, that even if the natives, frankly speaking, the natives of English language, they are not being taught languages as, deeply and precisely as we are being taught them in our schools. So they are not really able to give you a good explanation theoretically why. But if you ask them specifically, for example, about those speeches by the king and the late queen, and you show them context and you ask them, so why is this happening here? Why does the queen says, I speak to you today here, and then I'm speaking to you today there? They will usually give you quite a reasonable explanation, because it really is in their, in their veins, in their genetic code, I could say. So I understand that emotionally, but they are not able to, if you ask them, for example, so are there any other verbs that can change like that? I'm not really sure that everyone could answer this question easily and tell you that, yes, these are those and those verbs. If you just ask them, what about state verbs? I expect that many of them might be even puzzled and say, like, what are state verbs? What are you asking me about? And why are you asking this? But again, just be more specific, give them context, ask. And my biggest message to my students is always to not to fixate on the idea that, oh, this is stupid, this is weird, I don't understand it, we don't have that in our language, so why should we learn that? Rather than doing that, which is actually, it's useless, it just takes a lot of effort and emotions, and it really blocks your learning process. So instead of that, I actually encourage you to think more philosophically. So, okay, why are they doing that? There must be a reason for that. If people who actually, really care deeply about this language, and they are considered to be like almost role models in speaking really perfect, high elevated English, and they do that, it's not really reasonable, in my opinion, to just say, oh, because they don't understand how it works. There must be a deeper reason for that. So just look for it, try to ask about it. What really annoys me as a teacher is that those examples are not being shown in the course books, which is actually why I started this series of lectures and classes, because I want to, gather it all in one class and show it all to you. Because, yesterday I spent pretty much 2 hours, I think, going through the internet and different resources and a lot of course books on English grammar that I have here. And this shift, for example, about I speak and I'm speaking, like, I have not seen that anywhere. And even if we are talking about state verbs, for example, every list includes a different amount of verbs. So there is nothing like a really full list of them. So again, they rather make stress on understanding that, and feeling that, more than just learning it by heart. It is what it is. Again, we can't change it. I'm trying to change it as much as I can, but just don't stress over that. And the last thing that I want to tell you today about present simple and present continuous is something that I'm actually addressing that specifically to my Slavic students. I'm not sure that my Asian or French or German students might have problems with that, maybe, but I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how that exactly works in your languages, and if every single example that I will give now will be really important for you, but it will definitely work and be important for my Slavic students. So the first thing that I want to show you is, let's take a very simple example of I read a lot, and I'm reading right now. Have you ever caught yourself on just saying I reading right now? I think you might have. At least I really hear that a lot from my students, especially at the beginning of their process. And I think that there is very simple reason for that. If we look at the first sentence, I read a lot, where is the verb? The verb is here. What do? I read a lot. So when I ask you, where is the verb in the second sentence, you would usually say, I'm reading. Because it's logical. The word reading, carries this information about the action that I'm doing. But the problem is that this is not a verb. ing form is actually never a verb. Where does this problem come from? Because we translate both of those sentences as ja dużo czytam, ja czytam w tej chwili. Ja много читаю, я читаю прямо сейчас. So we think that if this is the same, czytam, czytаю, then here it's also, like read, reading, it's almost the same. But what we actually should say, this sentence says, is ja jestem czytająca. Я являюсь читающим человеком. So the verb is actually not here. The verb is here. I am doing what? I am reading. Я что делаю? Я являюсь кем-чем, читающим. Ja co robię? Ja jestem kim-czym czytającym. So if you remember that, it will be much easier for you not to forget about this I am, you are, and all those, be forms of the verb, the forms of the verb be that you have to use in present continuous. So that's the first thing that is very important to remember. And you will see in our future classes that we will come back to that this ing is never a verb. We can create a lot of different structures with that, but we will always need a real verb on side of it, okay? So that's the first thing. And the second thing, which comes logically from that, is how we express different states, emotions, and some feelings that we have in different ways in Slavic languages versus in English. So, for example, when we say in Slavic languages, ja się boję, ja boюсь, this is an active verb. It's actually quite even funny when you think about it, when, what are you doing? I am, like, ja boюсь. So like this, as if this is really like, like an active, thing to do. So this ja boюсь, ja się boję, ja się boję. This is expressed in English as I am scared. And this is, the scared is kind of a description. It is actually a passive form of it. But again, the verb is here, I am scared. If you forget about it, what I hear a lot again from many students is when you just say I scared, because you translate this active verb я боюсь, and again you think that scare, this is the core of it, it carries the information of being scared. So instead of I am scared, you say I scared, but it's wrong in English, okay? So you have to use that with the verb I am. The same situation happens with I am nervous. Which in Russian would be an active verb, я нервничаю, что я делаю, я нервничаю. Actually, in Polish, that would be closer to English, because we would also say ja jestem zdenerwowana. Although we could say ja się denerwuję, and that would be also an active verb. But in English, it can only be said through I am, and then this kind of description word. So what are you? I am nervous, I am scared. And on the other hand, we have a different shift in Russian when we say я согласен, я согласна. This is not a verb in Russian. And so what I hear a lot is when you say I am agree. Why is this wrong? Because agree is a verb already. So we can't say I am agree. You can't use it like this. You just cannot. And we just say I agree or I disagree. So that would sound more like я соглашаюсь rather than я согласна. In Polish, again, this actually is an active verb. So we say ja się zgadzam. So my Polish students don't have problem with that. They use naturally I agree, I disagree. But for Russian speaking students, this will be very, very helpful, I think. Okay, so this is pretty much everything that I have prepared for you today. As I said, it may seem like a very simple topic because it's, you know, these are the tenses that we all know from school and every step of our learning process. But as you see, there is a lot to, you know, to uncover and name and nail. So I hope I made it clearer for you. I will give some ideas of homework in the description box below. So if you want to practice that, you can do it. I'm not going to check that in our next class, but it's just, you know, for you. And I will also upload those state verbs and the list of them in the description box as well. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask them now. If not, you can always also ask them in our next class if, you know, you think about something during the week. If there are no questions from you, then thank you very much for your attention, and I hope very much to see you next week. Bye-bye.